my firm theology. We tried to figure ways in the boxes humans made. So either you're a heretic or you're the son of God. You are the relapse of quiet streams and greener paths, the footnotes of ancient words our language lacks. We can scribble out the notes in the books that your friends wrote, cause either everyone's a heretic or they've heard the voice of God. Offend my mind so that I can know you more, and break my heart so it looks more like yours. Offend my mind so that I can know you more. Offend my mind, offend my mind. A tender word and a stomach leak, the constant offending Greek mythology. Capitalize the G in the name of he who bleeds. You really resurrect me. Tell me directly, am I just a modern Pharisee? Do my thoughts scream a renewed mind, or just words I speak? And if you walk into my home and you make your glory known, would my tears soak your feet? Would I crucify you? Oh, offend my mind so that I can know you more, and break my heart so it looks more like yours. Offend my mind so that I can know you more. Offend my mind. Offend my mind so that I can know you more, and break my heart so it looks more like yours. Offend my mind so that I can know you more. Offend my mind. Prophet and the priest crucify my disbelief. The divine reminds me of the hope inside me. Ooh. Counter of the stars, resurrect my broken heart. The contrast soothes my mind. You're the earth that I reside in. I break the rules, you break the silence. I see the power in your eyes. You're glorious, I'm terrified. Grain of sand upon an island. Real estate inside your eyelids. I'm a tooth inside a smile. I'm a soul you reconcile. Would you offend my mind? Offend my mind. Offend my mind. Offend my mind. Would you offend my mind? Offend my mind. Offend my mind so that I can know you more, and break my heart so it looks more like yours.
evening, everyone. Sorry if that startled you. Hey, if you wouldn't mind getting a seat, ideally with your leader. We're so excited that you're here. If we haven't met, my name's Josh. I'm a groups pastor here, and man, we're just thrilled. We've worked up to this, prayed up to this for so long, it seems like, and to see you all here with your leaders is such a good feeling. I'm so looking forward to the next 10 weeks. It's going to be incredible, and I hope you know that. And what's unique about this is we have people taking Rooted, joining us in this room. We have people going through Financial Peace University in this room. Man, the Financial Peace University people are loud. I like it. We have people joining us who are going to be in MOPS this semester. We're so looking forward to. We have people in support groups and shared interest groups, all kinds of groups. We're so grateful that you are here, and I hope you're expectant for what God is about to do. Now, we know that the loneliness and hopelessness epidemic is upon us. If the research is out, people are more lonely and feeling hopeless now more than ever before. But I'm here to remind you, and you can look around this room. No matter how you came in this morning, you are not alone. You have people in your corner, and you have people ready and willing to step into the gap, put an arm around your shoulder, pray for you, whatever it is. You have people here to fill that gap, and this is why groups matter. This is why community and life together matters. We're so expectant for you. And one more thing before I invite Pastor Tim to come up. We're excited because on November 17th, if you haven't heard about this, put this in your calendars and your phones. November 17th, all campuses are going to be gathered in this room, both people that have gone through this 10 weeks on site and small groups that have been meeting, some for years off site, are going to gather together, all of us in this room, to celebrate all that God is done and has done, and you're not going to want to miss November 17th. So mark your calendars. It's going to be incredible. We're so glad that you're here. Thanks for being here. Let me invite Pastor Tim up here to share a few words with us.
I love that guy. Is there like a bumper? Okay, here I am. Hello, everybody. Watch the screen while I sit down. That's awesome. Wasn't that great? Let's give it up to whoever wasted their time making that for this thing to happen. Welcome, everybody. I walked in and saw the pink T-shirts, and they dared me to wear one, and I didn't. Yeah, I know. You'll get me one. My daughter, Becca, my youngest daughter, Becca, has Augie, who is 18 months, and tomorrow she is helping start a MOPS group in Franklin, Tennessee. I just want you to know that. For those of you that are doing MOPS, my wife was a person who started MOPS at this church when we had preschoolers. So even before Becca was even born, it's just fun to see how that whole thing goes. Some of you are doing FPU. You know that's near and dear to me. My son-in-law worked at Ramsey for 9 years. Ruth's brother-in-law works. I just thought of that. He works at Ramsey now, and it's a great company, and the FPU thing has been huge as that's gone on to be passed on to my kids, so that they're not, always hitting me up for money. That's been a really important thing. Obviously, Rooted. I don't know how many people we've had. I know over 3,000 people in our church have been through Rooted, and if you're doing the Rooted experience, that is fantastic. It's going to change your life, and I still talk to other pastors around the country about this. It's going to be really, really good. And some of you are in interest groups. I don't see anybody in shorts that's getting ready to go play pickleball, but I can't really see you all, so that's probably good. Let me tell you what we're about tonight, and if you heard this sermon a couple of weeks ago, I'm not gonna repreach it, but I want you to hear some of the stuff that's been going on. I hope you'll be here this weekend. Sermon's not done, but I'm doing Acts 4, and it's just it feels like our whole world our whole world has changed, right? And so I'm reading the Bible and I'm learning things about what we do and how we grow in Christ that is really mind-boggling in a different way. Acts chapter 4, I'm going to talk about what it looks like to be vocal about your faith. And it's different than it's ever been before because of, the bad reputation that Christians get and because of all the crazy political stuff. So all that to say that what I'm doing tonight to tell you about the groups is we've always talked about groups. We know that that's important. The larger the church got, the more that was important. Although my wife actually started our small groups ministry back in the day. You see, it was just me and her basically back in the day. So, I made her do everything I didn't want to do. And so we knew that groups were going to be important way, way back in the early 90s as we were getting things going. And it was really important. But, at that point, we were 150 people. We could kind of keep track of each other. And now, obviously, that's not the case. That's not where things are going to be. So what we're going to talk about tonight, what I want to talk about tonight is just, it's connection first, okay? And that's a big paradigm shift for me. It's a big paradigm shift for a lot of us, is that it's connection first. So let me start into it this way. I'm going to guess a couple of things. I'm going to guess that it was hard for you to get here tonight. I'm going to guess that there were a lot of things that were going on, and how many of you forgot the bridge was out? Okay, just go ahead. Right? And so if anybody comes in late, I just want you to turn to them and go, "Did you forget the bridge was out?" Because I'm pretty sure that. I still can't get used to it. By the time I get used to it, they'll put it back together again. I'm guessing that some of you of your couples were having issues today, issues tonight. You had work things going on. And I just want to say, good for you. I'm glad that you're here. But there's a reason that that you've been distracted from being here. There's a reason why you've been distracted from jumping in and being involved in being connected in a group. And that reason is that the evil one knows that may be your lifeline. And Josh was just saying, the epidemic of loneliness, we know what's gone on during COVID. This might be your lifeline. And I fear that a lot of Christians, we went through COVID, we all had to stay social distance, and they've kind of gone away from being together. And they're kind of gotten used to it. And they're going to feel it. And here's why I know that. All three of my daughters and husbands and grandkids are now in Franklin, Tennessee, as I said, thanks to Governor Newsom in California. So we go back and forth a lot. We're down there now a lot because we can do that back and forth. And one of the things that Denise and I are figuring out now is that if we're down there, we don't have like friends there. We don't have a small group. She has a church that she's involved in. If she's not here, like this weekend, she's not here with me. But we're not, we got all our family there, and that's wonderful. But we're starting to even feel the fact that there's our small group people, our lifeline people are here, and we're gone more, and we're missing that, and we need to figure out some people, some other, non-family to hang out with and do life with in Nashville as time goes on, and, that's going to be where we end up living for the rest of our lives. We've got to figure that out, and we're pretty deep Christians, we've been Christians for a long time. We both know the Bible really well, but connection is the thing that we've missed through COVID, and it's the thing that we're all really, really struggling with. So that's why Satan doesn't want you to be connected. So what I want to do is I just want to ask you this question. What would it like to be there, okay? What would it like to be there, all right? So you can fill in the blank. I wish I could be there. Do I have this? Yeah, I wish I could be there in my life. What would it look like? What is that for you? Maybe it's a negative thing that you wish would be positive, okay? I wish I could stop smoking, stop drinking, stop being addicted to fake book or sugar or whatever, okay? Maybe it's finances, and you know, that's why you're here. I wish I could be debt-free. I wish I could be able to retire. I wish I could be able to give like I want to give. Maybe it's your health. Okay, maybe it's a weight goal for you. I would love to be lighter. I would love to be heavier. I would love to have more muscle. I would like to have less non-muscle. Okay, we'll not use the F word. Okay, non-muscle. I know you'll find this hard to believe, but I used to go to a personal trainer. Several years ago, I was working out with some trainer friends at it was like a class thing, and a little gym that Darren had over here. And we were in class one day, doing stuff together, and he was talking about protein shakes and, protein powder. And he was talking about, I just take the protein and mix it up with water, and I don't add anything to it, no big deal. And, I'm me, and I was kind of being a smart aleck, and, the other people in the group either went to Parkview or, knew who I was. So I was just kind of messing around. I'm like, yeah, I can't do it with water. I have to do milk. And they're all like, yeah, okay, that sounds better. We like your idea better. And Darren turned to me and he said, hey, I don't come into your place and say, hey, adultery, it's really no big deal. Don't worry about it, I don't do that. And he had a good point. And I started thinking about it, and I thought, that's how it starts, right? You put milk in the protein powder, and then you put chocolate syrup in the protein powder, and some marshmallows, and a little Captain Morgan, and pretty soon you have a mudslide, right? And all of a sudden, it's not good for you anymore, okay? So what you have to do if you're going to be there in your life is you have to have a plan, right? If you're going to be debt-free, you got to have a plan. I'm sorry, you guys are just so exuberant about FPU. You're my FPU people. And Tom back there in the back, okay? Because if you don't have a plan, if you fail to plan, right? You plan to fail. That's how that whole thing goes. If you're gonna, lose weight, if you're gonna work out, you gotta have a plan, and you gotta have people that help you meet that goal. And so this is about why the connection part. And again, this probably doesn't sound different to you, but it sounds different to me, because what I'm going to tell you tonight is that I think, especially because of where the world is today, that it might be more important for you to show up to that class and go ahead and have the milk in the protein powder and maybe not work out very well that day, or maybe not give it, that much of a shot at working out. But the fact that you're there with other people is possibly more important than the working out. And obviously, I'm concerned about the whole person, right? The emotions, the physical, the spiritual, all of it going together. And don't hear me wrong. I just think that connection first is where we have to be right now. So that's why, I'm saying, if you're just getting together to play pickleball, I'm not going to demean that, okay? I definitely think you should study the Bible. I definitely think you should pray. I definitely think you should go through the plan for whatever it is that you're going to do. But just being together is a big part of the thing. And here's why I say that, all right? Our relationship with God and our relationship with each other is broken, okay? The only way that that's going to be healed, it was broken in the garden. It was broken before we were ever here. And the only way it's going to be healed is in the context of relationship. And again, I've probably said that before, but deep down inside, I'm thinking that the healing part is really about what you do in your group more than I really thought that the important part was really just about being in a group, okay? At some point, one way or another, the relationship has been broken. And in some ways, your relationships with other people have been broken, right? In some ways, one way or another, you've been broken by relationships. And the only way that those things get healed is in the context of relationships. So again, I said this a couple of weeks ago in the sermon, but the first thing that God said was not good was to be alone. And yet here we are alone. Here we are on our Peloton bikes, and great, that I'm doing the class, and there are other people around, and there's, somebody on there, on the screen picking out somebody every once in a while saying, woohoo, way to go. But at the end of the day, when I shut that thing back off, there's not anybody there to say, hey, how's it going? There's nobody there for me to say, my mom's in the hospital, my dog died, whatever it is that's going on in your life. There's nobody else there. And the same thing was true with our small groups. And again, I'm not against that. I want us to be connected. That's better than nothing. But the healing can only come in the context of relationship. So throughout whatever it is that you're doing, this is the goal from Ephesians. It says, it is by grace that you've been saved through faith, and this is not of yourselves. It is a gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. That's a super important basic principle of Christianity, and you may have heard that one before, but here we go on. It says, for we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. So, spoiler alert, I'm getting ready to do, tomorrow I'm doing one of the At the Movies, and I'm going to be talking about this scripture because I'm just going to tell you, I'm doing Black Panther because it's my favorite Marvel movie ever, and the whole don't tell anybody else, this is just for you. It'll be our first movie next week. The whole context is that Wakanda has these gifts, right? Wakanda has vibranium, and they have these gifts, and they've been hiding them, and they're supposed to go out and share them. And they finally realize that when T'Challa becomes the king, he finally realizes that, and at the end, it all gets resolved in that way. But obviously, it's got some racial things that are really important to talk about too. But the whole thing is, you were created to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. But you can never do that without connection first. You can never do that without the context of relationship. That's the way that it was always supposed to be. And God knew that from the very beginning. So if you're in Rooted, you're going to talk about service, and you're going to talk about giving, and you're going to talk about prayer, and you're going to talk about some of those things. Those things obviously happen in connection. And even if you're in MOPS, I mean, I know that you're going to learn a lot of great things. I mean, my wife led it and then, taught it, was a mentor mom, and all those things. I know a lot about the MOPS stuff. You're going to learn good stuff. But what I know is that you guys, you're pulling your hair out because your 3-year-old won't potty train. And you don't really need anybody else to tell you how to try to tell them to stop, going to the bathroom in their underwear. You get that part. What you need is somebody to be beside you to help you figure that out, but to just encourage you to say, you know what? My kid was 18 before he really stopped wetting the bed. It's going to be okay, right? And FPU it's the same thing. There's some great obvious financial principles, but the encouragement from being together is the part that makes it happen. Now, I also want to say that there are going to be facilitators if you're in groups, and some of you, like the young girls who are Jesus followers, that you need an acronym, okay? You need something that I can remember. Spell something with your group, okay? That's all I'm saying. Even if you're just in a group and you're doing things together, or if you're in MOPS and you've got leaders or FPU or whatever, your facilitator is not the teacher. They're not the person that knows everything about what you need to understand about everything. They are the facilitator. They are the person that's going to help you on your way, and really that's the only goal for them, is to be able to do that, okay? So here's what I want to read to you some stuff that I've been learning from how to do brain science, okay? I'm just going to tell you this. My kids are my middle son-in-law, Tommy, and Lauren, my middle daughter, are working on a new ministry that are growth groups that are going to help people that are addicted, okay? It's more of an addiction thing, and it's also for major trauma, and the groups are fantastic. Some of you have been piloting with them and all that kind of stuff. They've been turning me on to the brain science thing, so let me geek out for just a second with you on some brain science stuff so that you can understand why I'm saying connection first, okay? From what I know, a lot of this started from a doctor at UCLA who started studying the brain, and I read some of this the other day, but and his thing was joy attachment is what he called it, and he said this is really important that we learn that we all need joy attachment, and he defined again joy attachment as someone who is glad to be with me. I could throw this whole thing away. I could throw the whole talk away and say that the most important thing you need besides Jesus is someone who is glad to be with me. I really believe that. And being the sparkle in someone's eye. And he goes on and he describes the brain as a dual processor, like your cell phone has, these dual processors in it. Your computer has dual processors. One handles the communication, one handles all the digital information. Your brain has that as well. And he goes on and he talks about how our right brain interprets things and our left brain interprets things. So when you walk into grandma's house and you smell the chicken, your left brain doesn't register that that's good old grandma's chicken that you love so much. Your right brain notices it immediately. This would be why every once in a while you'll hear a song on the radio, and immediately you'll go to a memory, right? Maybe it's a breakup song, or it was a song that was really important to your mom and she's passed away or whatever. That's why that's happening. You're not conscious of it. That is your right brain, okay? Now here's what he said that's important to this, and I didn't bring this up in the sermon the other day because it's more than I needed, but this is what you need. Character formation, which is the primary responsibility of the church, right? To help you, once you come in, our primary responsibility is to help you become like Jesus, is primarily governed by the right brain and not the left brain. If we want to grow and transform our character into the character of Jesus, we must involve activities that stimulate and develop the right brain. I emphasize that on my notes. In other words, here's what it is. Being a disciple of Jesus means reacting to the world as he would react. One author describes Christian discipleship as the way to become the kind of person who does easily and routinely what Jesus said or does without having to think about it. How many of you do that? Remember when, you had the bracelet to remind you what would Jesus do? I'm not a person that automatically reacts like Jesus would. And I've been doing this for a really long time. I'm better at it than I used to be, but according to him, the most important thing for me to do is not necessarily read my Bible. It's not necessarily pray. It's to be in community, because community is where my right brain is developing. He goes on, since joy helps us regulate painful emotions, when it runs low, we will look to non-relational sources to stop the pain. All right, process this through COVID. Soil that is low on joy is primed for growing addictions. When our brain looks for joy, I want to be the joy in someone else's face, right? Or I want you to be the joy in my face. When our brain looks for that and does not find it, we become vulnerable to pseudo-joys. These are substances and experiences that trick our brain to temporarily shut off the unpleasant emotions, but they are non-relational and ultimately unsatisfying. Joy substitutes can appear on the surface to be normal things like food, social media, shopping. The more obvious pseudo-joys are alcohol, drugs, sugar, porn. Low joy cultures will see an increase in pseudo-joy addictions. Hello, COVID, right? I mean, we all joked about it for a while. We were drinking more, we were watching more Netflix, whatever. But now we know it wasn't just because we were bored. It was actually because we were looking for joy in a place that we couldn't find it because we literally couldn't be together. And I'll just throw this in there because I'm going to preach against video screens for the rest of my life. Another joy leak is the prevalence of video screens in our daily lives. We use smartphones, television, movie screens to fill our idle minutes. So joy and screen time are inversely proportional. Every psychologist will tell you the more time you spend looking at that, the less joy you're going to have in your life. The joy drains out of our communities by depriving ourselves of each other's faces. Our need for face-to-face time is designed into our flesh, and our brains can distinguish between a real face and a face on a screen. Since we need facial joy like we need food and oxygen, we are starving ourselves of relational nutrition. Okay. I know that was deeper than you probably wanted to deal with tonight, and I totally get that, okay? But let me tell you how important this is, how high I am on small groups. I have 3 other guys we call ourselves the Stinklings, which I don't need to go into, but we've been doing life together for 15 years. I don't now have to see their faces, even though we still get together twice a year, but because our relationships are so tight, when anybody has anything going on, I mean, we're all in a place where our parents are getting old, and many of them have passed away. We're dealing with that, or we're dealing with church stuff, or we're dealing with political stuff in the world, or whatever. We have each other, and we know that we have each other, and we haven't been together for a while, and we're feeling it. And now that I understand this, I understand where that comes from, okay? And that's the reason why you've got to be connected in a group. And I tell this story at Rooted all the time, but Becca, my youngest daughter, and her husband Andy, they got married, and she went to work at a church called Mariners out in Orange County. And one of the requirements that the church had, as does ours, is that their new staff go through Rooted, because they wanted them to be grounded in all the things that are going on. So Becca and Andy literally start this new church. They move to a different location. His family's out there in the area. But in 10 weeks of doing Rooted, there were people that added people from that 10-week group into the wedding party. They were engaged couples, and they added them into the wedding party of their wedding, because in some cases they knew those people in 10 weeks, and they felt connected relationally to those people in 10 weeks more than the people that they'd grown up with or their own siblings, okay? And some of you can look back and realize that. One of my groomsmen just passed away recently from cancer, and I've been away from him. I mean, he was in Amarillo, Texas. We haven't really been close. There's another one of my groomsmen that I promise you I don't know his name. I can't remember his name. He was in Springfield, Missouri. That's where I had a 7-month youth minister gig that was going on, and he was a good guy, and Denise had too many bridesmaids, so I'm like, hey, Fred, or whatever your name is, you want to be a groomsman? And I mean, because that's just kind of how it goes sometimes, But I guarantee you, the people, if we would have been in a group together, I'd still know his name. If we would have been in a situation where we were in each other's lives, and it got so crazy with them that Beck and Andy moved into a new apartment right after this group had, and they stayed together, and they would still be together if Beck and Andy hadn't moved to Nashville. But they had to move Andy and Becca into a new apartment. And they moved in, and they found out they didn't have a refrigerator. They thought it was going to come with the apartment, and so they had to run out, and grab one on Craigslist, and they had to haul the refrigerator up the 3 flights of stairs because there's no elevator, and then they had to lift it up over the countertop because that was the only way that they could get it into the place. And I would not do that for you, okay? And you wouldn't probably do that with me. You'd be like, hire somebody. 2 men in a truck, dude. Don't call me, right? But that's the kind of connection that was going on, and that's how impactful it was for them. And so guess what? Now they're in Nashville, and they're looking for that all over again. Even though the sisters are there and the families are close, now they need to do it again. And I just want you to understand that when we go back to the very beginning of Acts, which is what we've been doing at the church around here, and it talks about I'll just read it. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, to fellowship, and the breaking of bread and prayer. At 61 years of age, I'm telling you that for my entire life, I thought the important part of that was apostles' teaching and breaking bread and prayer. And if I had to list the priorities of what was key to making the early church be successful, it was, apostles' teaching, because I'm a preacher, so that's got to be like number one, and and prayer, obviously, number two, and breaking bread, which I would interpret as communion, except that's not what it is, and fellowship would be down below that, because that's how I thought you grew as a Christian. And now I would say, and maybe it's just because the world has changed, you guys, I don't know. But now I would say fellowship, that breaking bread was eating meals in each other's houses and going out for Mexican food and margaritas, and fellowship were key, or are key, because connection first is super important. I can get up here and teach you about the Bible all day, and we can even pray all day. And this, I know I'm starting to sound heretical, okay? But I believe what we need right now, and this is dumb because you're already here, so I'll shut up. But what we need right now is what you're getting ready to do, okay? It's what you're getting ready to do. It goes on. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and fellowship, breaking of bread and prayer. Everyone was filled with awe and the many wonders and signs performed by the apostles. Okay, cool. They were doing some cool stuff, healing some people. Talk about that Sunday. All the believers, here we go, were together, and they had everything in common, and they sold property and possessions to give to anyone who had a need. And every day they continued to meet together. And it says they broke bread in their homes, ate together with glad and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favor of all the people. And the Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved. Because there's a ton of people out there who are starving for that. They're starving to have a meal in a house with some other people. They're starving to go play pickleball or ride motorcycles or whatever it is that we're going to do. And again, I'm not taking the learning away from it. Rooted is going to be really important for your spiritual life if you're going through that. It's going to be super important. That's what we make all our staff go through it. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that if you don't get your homework done, and you're thinking, well, I didn't get my homework done, maybe I won't show up. No, show up. If you're in, if you're an FPU and you show up in a brand new Corvette that you just bought as an impulse buy and finance the whole thing, it's okay. Show up. That's the most important thing that you can do, is to show up and to be in each other's lives. So, way to go, you guys. I'm applauding this. I'm trying to help you to understand that I grow and learn along the way as well. And at the same time, I just really think it's a different time in history. So the most important thing that you're doing is not sitting there listening to me. The most important thing you're going to do is when you hang out after this is over. It's when you get in your little table groups at MOPS, or you get in your table groups, or you get your Rooted group together and you start talking about what's going on in each other's lives. That's what we're desperately missing right now. And that's actually the right side of your brain where the spiritual growth probably happens way more than we ever understood before. Let me pray. Lord, I know that there are people here who don't know very much about you, and I love that because that's really what we're all about. And I know we got alpha groups starting, and I pray for those that they'll go great. And I know there are other people here who've been followers of you for a long time, and maybe things are just a little stale for them right now. I'm just excited that they're here. Maybe there's people here who don't have a need, but they're going to find some needs along the way because life happens. There are some people here that have some deep needs going on in their lives right now, and I just want to pray against Satan because I think that Satan is going to distract us from community more than he ever has. I think COVID was a great master strategy, even though it was a pandemic, Lord. It wasn't the pandemic, I don't think, that we'll look back on as being the real thing that hurt society the most. I think it's going to be the loneliness. It's going to be the isolation that was even the bigger deal when we look back on this in history. So thank you for bringing us together. What I pray for, Lord, is that because of what's going on right now, that there are going to be some pallbearers. I know this will sound morbid, but I'm praying that 30 years from now, 40 years from now, whatever it is, that there will be some pallbearers that are carrying the casket of another person that they didn't know before September 8th of 2022. I pray that there are some wedding parties that are going to have new people in them that they didn't even know before September 8th of 2022. I pray that there are going to be some connections made here that last a lifetime, like so many of them that I have, and that when times get hard, we will know that we have the right people to cling to and to call on and to make it work. Thank you for this place. Thank you for what's going to happen with these people, and it's in your name we pray. Amen.
Well, are you ready for community? Yeah? Okay. I believe you. All right. Hey, your leaders know where your group meeting location is. If you haven't had a chance to visit the Enneagram boards or figure out what number you may or may not be, feel free to do that on your way out. But you are dismissed to your group meeting locations. Thanks for coming, everybody.